A Journey Beyond Borders. Part 1. The Departure. Sarah Parker stood at the departure gate of JFK International Airport, clutching her boarding pass. Her heart raced, a mix of excitement and nerves coursing through her veins. She was about to embark on a journey that many of her friends had deemed reckless, but to her, it was the adventure of a lifetime. She was going to visit Kwame, her boyfriend, in Ghana. They had met at a conference in New York 2 years ago. Kwame's intelligence and charm had captivated her immediately. Despite the distance, their relationship had flourished through late-night video calls and heartfelt letters. Now, it was time to bridge that gap physically. As she boarded the plane, Sarah couldn't help but wonder if the reality of Ghana would live up to the vibrant, colorful stories Kwame had shared. Part 2. The Arrival. The plane touched down in Accra, and the humid, warm air greeted Sarah as she stepped off. Kwame was there, waiting with a broad smile and a bouquet of local flowers. His eyes sparkled with joy, and in that moment, Sarah felt any lingering doubts melt away. "Welcome to Ghana, my love," Kwame said, pulling her into a warm embrace. Sarah took in the bustling city, the mix of modernity and tradition, the friendly faces, and the unfamiliar, yet captivating scents. She felt alive in a way she never had before. Part 3. Exploring New Worlds. Kwame had planned a grand tour of his homeland. They visited bustling markets, historical sites, and stunning natural landscapes. Sarah was entranced by the vibrant culture, the rhythmic music, and the warmth of the people. One evening, they attended a traditional ceremony in Kwame's village. The drumming, dancing, and communal spirit were intoxicating. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Sarah had to adjust to the pace of life, the unpredictability of power outages, and the different social norms. Yet, each challenge only brought her and Kwame closer. They laughed about the mishaps, learned from the experiences, and grew together. Part 4. The Unforeseen Twist. One night, as they sat under a canopy of stars by the Volta River, Kwame grew unusually quiet. He took Sarah's hand, his face serious. "There's something I need to tell you," he began, his voice tinged with apprehension. "My family, they don't know about us. They have certain expectations, and I didn't know how to explain our relationship to them." Sarah felt a pang of fear and hurt. "What do you mean, Kwame?" He sighed. "My parents have a bride they want me to marry. It's an arrangement made years ago. I've been trying to find a way to tell them about you, about us, but..." Sarah's world spun. The dreamlike journey suddenly felt like a precarious tightrope walk. She had never anticipated this. How could she? Part 5. The Confrontation. The next day, they traveled to Kwame's family home. Sarah's heart pounded as they approached the house. She felt like an intruder, stepping into a world where she might not be welcome. Kwame's mother greeted them warmly, but with a curious gaze that made Sarah uneasy. At dinner, Kwame finally spoke up. "Mother, father, there's someone important I want you to meet. This is Sarah, the woman I love." The room fell silent. His parents exchanged glances, and the air grew thick with tension. Sarah felt the weight of their scrutiny. Kwame's father spoke first, his voice firm but not unkind. "Kwame, you know our traditions. This is unexpected." Kwame took a deep breath. "I understand, father. But times are changing. Love should not be confined by traditions." Part 6. Bridging the Divide. Over the next few days, Sarah and Kwame's family navigated the delicate dance of understanding and acceptance. Sarah shared her own culture, her love for Kwame, and her willingness to embrace Ghanaian traditions. Slowly, barriers began to crumble. One evening, Kwame's mother took Sarah aside. "I see why Kwame loves you," she said softly. "You have a strong spirit. It will not be easy, but if you both are committed, we will find a way." Part 7. A New Beginning. Sarah and Kwame's journey was far from over. They faced skepticism, cultural differences, and the weight of expectations. But they also discovered a deeper connection and a shared resolve to build a future together. As Sarah boarded the plane back to New York, she knew her life had been irrevocably changed. She carried with her not just memories, but a new understanding of love, resilience, and the beauty of embracing the unknown. Epilogue: Beyond Borders. Back in New York, Sarah looked at the calendar. In a few months, Kwame would join her for a new adventure in her world. Their story was just beginning, a tale of love that transcended borders and defied the odds. And so, the classic American lady and her Ghanaian love embarked on their unpredictable journey, one step at a time, hand in hand. Part 8. Rekindling the Spark. Months passed, and Sarah found herself in a whirlwind of preparations. She was excited and anxious about Kwame's impending visit to New York. She wanted everything to be perfect. Her apartment was filled with books on Ghanaian culture, local recipes she had been practicing, and photographs from their trip. When Kwame finally arrived, Sarah's heart soared at the sight of him walking through the arrival gates. They embraced, their love rekindled by the shared anticipation and the promise of new experiences. Part 9. The City That Never Sleeps. New York City was a sensory overload for Kwame. Sarah took him to all the iconic spots: Central Park, the Statue of Liberty, Times Square. Kwame marveled at the towering skyscrapers, the diverse crowd, and the pace of life that seemed to never slow down. One evening, they attended a jazz concert in a cozy underground club in Greenwich Village. As the soulful music enveloped them, Sarah leaned over and whispered, "This is my favorite part of New York. The hidden gems, the surprises around every corner." Kwame smiled, squeezing her hand. "It's beautiful, just like you described." Part 10. Navigating New Challenges. However, the cultural differences and challenges didn't vanish. Kwame struggled with the fast-paced, individualistic nature of American society. He missed the communal lifestyle of Ghana, the closeness of family, and the slower pace. One particularly challenging moment came when Kwame attended a family gathering with Sarah's relatives. The evening started well, with polite introductions and shared stories. But as the night went on, Kwame felt increasingly out of place. The conversation turned to politics and social issues, and he found himself lost in the nuances of American discourse. Sarah noticed his discomfort and tried to steer the conversation to more familiar territory, but the night left Kwame feeling isolated. Afterward, as they walked home, he expressed his frustrations. "I feel like an outsider, Sarah. It's hard to connect with your world sometimes." Sarah hugged him tightly. "I know it's difficult. We'll find our rhythm. It just takes time." Part 11. The Unveiling Secret. One crisp autumn afternoon, as they strolled through Central Park, Kwame received a call from his sister in Ghana. His face grew serious as he listened, and after he hung up, he turned to Sarah. "My sister has some news. The woman my parents wanted me to marry, Akua, she's decided to marry someone else." Sarah was taken aback. "What does that mean for us?" Kwame took her hands in his. "It means that the last major obstacle is gone. We can truly be together without that shadow hanging over us." Relief washed over Sarah, but it was mingled with concern. "But what about your parents? Will they accept me now?" Kwame smiled softly. "They're coming to visit next month. They want to meet you properly on neutral ground. This is our chance to show them how strong our love is." Part 12. Meeting the Parents. The anticipation of Kwame's parents' visit was nerve-wracking. Sarah and Kwame meticulously planned their stay, aiming to strike a balance between American comforts and Ghanaian traditions. They decorated the apartment with Ghanaian artifacts, prepared a fusion of dishes from both cultures, and mapped out a thoughtful itinerary. When Kwame's parents arrived, there was an initial stiffness, a careful politeness that spoke volumes about their apprehensions. Sarah greeted them with warmth, hoping to bridge the cultural and emotional gap. Over the next few days, they explored New York together. Sarah showed them the museums, the parks, and the historic landmarks. But the most significant moments were the quiet ones, cooking together in the kitchen, sharing stories around the dinner table, and learning from each other. Part 13. Breaking Barriers. One evening, after a particularly enjoyable dinner, Kwame's mother pulled Sarah aside. "Sarah, I see how happy you make my son. Your world is different from ours, but your heart is in the right place. We were worried about how you would fit into our family, but now I see that love truly knows no boundaries." Tears welled up in Sarah's eyes. "Thank you, Mama. I love Kwame more than anything, and I want to be a part of your family." Kwame's father joined them, placing a hand on Sarah's shoulder. "Welcome to the family, Sarah." Part 14. A New Chapter. As the sun set over the Manhattan skyline, Sarah and Kwame stood on their balcony, watching the city lights flicker to life. Their journey had been fraught with challenges and uncertainties, but they had emerged stronger, more united. "We did it," Sarah whispered, leaning into Kwame. Kwame nodded, his arm around her. "Yes, we did. And this is just the beginning." Their love story had transcended continents, cultures, and expectations. Together, they had built a bridge between their worlds, proving that true love is not just about finding someone you can live with, but finding someone you can't live without. As they looked out over the city that had come to symbolize their journey, they knew that whatever the future held, they would face it together, hand in hand, heart to heart.
Part 15. Building a Home. As the days turned into weeks, Sarah and Kwame began to settle into their new life together. They moved into a larger apartment that could accommodate both their lifestyles and their cultural treasures. The walls were adorned with art from Ghana and New York, symbolizing the beautiful blend of their lives. One weekend, they decided to host a housewarming party, inviting friends from both their worlds. The night was filled with laughter, music, and stories. Sarah's friends from New York mingled with Kwame's friends and relatives who were visiting from Ghana. The apartment was alive with the sound of different accents, languages, and the delicious aroma of a diverse array of dishes. As the night wore on, Sarah watched Kwame laughing and dancing with her friends, and she felt a deep sense of contentment. This was their life now, a harmonious blend of two cultures, and it felt perfect. Part 16. Career Aspirations. With their personal life settling into a comforting routine, both Sarah and Kwame turned their focus to their careers. Sarah was thriving in her role at the publishing company, working on projects that excited her. Meanwhile, Kwame was exploring opportunities in New York that would allow him to use his skills and experience in international development. One evening, Kwame came home with exciting news. "I got a job offer," he announced, his eyes shining. "It's with an NGO that works on sustainable development projects in Africa. I'll be able to work from New York but travel back to Ghana frequently." Sarah hugged him tightly, her heart swelling with pride. "That's amazing, Kwame. I'm so happy for you." This new job not only allowed Kwame to stay connected to his roots but also gave him a sense of purpose and fulfillment. They celebrated the news with a quiet dinner at home, dreaming about the future and the impact Kwame's work would have. Part 17. The Proposal. As their relationship grew stronger, Kwame began to think about taking the next step. He wanted to propose to Sarah in a way that would honor both their cultures and the journey they had been on together. He spent weeks planning, enlisting the help of friends and family. On a crisp winter evening, Kwame took Sarah to Central Park, the place where they had shared so many meaningful moments. As they walked hand in hand, the city lights twinkling around them, Kwame led Sarah to a small clearing where fairy lights were strung up in the trees, creating a magical atmosphere. Sarah gasped, her eyes widening with surprise. "Kwame, this is beautiful." Kwame took her hands in his, dropping to one knee. "Sarah, from the moment we met, you've brought light into my life. We've faced challenges, but we've always come through stronger. I can't imagine my life without you. Will you marry me?" Tears streamed down Sarah's face as she nodded, her voice choked with emotion. "Yes, Kwame. 1,000 times, yes." The moment was perfect, surrounded by the city that had become their home and the love that had grown between them. They embraced, knowing that this was just the beginning of a new chapter in their story. Part 18: Wedding Preparations. The months that followed were a whirlwind of wedding preparations. Sarah and Kwame wanted a celebration that would reflect both their cultures and the journey they had been on. They decided on a two-part wedding, a traditional Ghanaian ceremony followed by a modern New York celebration. The Ghanaian ceremony took place in Accra, surrounded by Kwame's family and friends. Sarah wore a beautiful Kente cloth dress, and they participated in traditional rites that symbolized their union and the joining of their families. The celebration was filled with music, dance, and the warmth of community. A few weeks later, they held their New York ceremony in a charming garden venue. Sarah walked down the aisle in a flowing white gown, while Kwame looked dashing in a tailored suit. Their vows were heartfelt, reflecting the love and respect they had for each other. Friends and family from both sides of the Atlantic came together to celebrate their love, dancing late into the night under the stars. Part 19: Honeymoon Adventures. After the wedding, Sarah and Kwame set off on a honeymoon that took them to some of the most beautiful places in the world. They started in Paris, the city of love, where they strolled along the Seine, visited art museums, and enjoyed romantic dinners by candlelight. From Paris, they traveled to the Serengeti in Tanzania, experiencing the awe-inspiring beauty of Africa's wildlife. They went on safari, watched the sunset over the savannah, and spent nights under a canopy of stars, feeling closer to nature and each other. Their final stop was a secluded beach in the Maldives, where they spent their days snorkeling in crystal-clear waters, lounging on white sandy beaches, and reflecting on their incredible journey. It was a time of peace and joy, a perfect way to start their life together as a married couple. Part 20: Settling Down. Returning to New York, Sarah and Kwame felt a renewed sense of purpose and excitement about their future. They continued to build their careers, with Sarah eventually taking on a leadership role at her publishing company and Kwame making significant strides in his work with the NGO. Their home became a gathering place for friends and family, filled with laughter, love, and the delicious blend of Ghanaian and American cuisines. They supported each other through the ups and downs, always finding strength in their love and the journey they had shared. As the years passed, Sarah and Kwame's bond only grew stronger. They traveled the world, built a family, and created a life filled with joy, adventure, and deep connection. Their love story, which had transcended continents and cultures, became a testament to the power of love and the beauty of two hearts finding their rhythm together. And so, as they stood on their balcony, watching the city lights flicker to life, they knew that whatever the future held, they would face it together, hand in hand, heart to heart.